could I possibly be doing if I'm looking at a pack like this, but also one like this and even one like this? This seems like a crazy video, and it kind of is. So stick around to find out what it is that I'm talking about today. So all of you know that I used to be a one-bag travel nut, but I'm getting old and I really can't carry all that gear on my back. It's just plain too heavy. And the other part of it is, while I love my one-bag travel options like this awesome Tortuga here, it holds my stuff incredibly well. But the problem is that when you get to your destination, it doesn't convert down to an everyday carry very well. It's just too big. And you're cheating if you're doing one-bag travel and you carry a second bag to use as your everyday carry. So that's not an option. So since I am committing to doing 2 bags now, my plan is to keep all my heavy stuff in the rolling luggage piece. So that includes my camera equipment, my tech gear like my laptop and my tablet. That's all going to go in the rolling luggage because it's obviously much easier to carry when it's rolling along the floor. And then I'm going to take all my light stuff, which includes my clothing, and I'm going to put that into a small day pack. The problem here is that I also want that small day pack to serve as my camera bag when I reach my destination. And then to add to that, I also want to make sure that that camera bag / everyday carry isn't just a camera bag, but it's versatile enough to be able to carry all the other essentials that I might need to bring with me on a hike, whether that hike is in the city or that hike is actually in the wilderness somewhere. So my goal for this video is to find a small backpack, a day pack, that is going to be the dimensions that will allow me to carry it as a personal item on the airplane, but also be something that will be versatile enough to use as both a camera bag and an everyday carry. There are some key needs that I have to make sure that I have in a travel day pack. And you may or may not have these same needs, but here it is. These are the things I need. Number one, it must actually be comfortable enough for me to carry some significant weight, because my camera kit is not light. Like I said, I'm an old man. I want to be able to carry something over fairly long, sweaty hikes without it becoming incredibly uncomfortable. And in that way, as much as I love my shoulder bag, there is no way that this is going to suffice, because shoulder bags are really great in terms of how quickly you can access your camera kit, but terribly uncomfortable for anything longer than a half-mile to a mile hike. Just brutal. Okay, number two is that it actually has to be small enough so that it can qualify as a personal item. So obviously I can't be using something as big as this. This is a technical backpacking that would be for multi-days. Obviously I'm not going to carry this, despite the fact this would be really comfortable to carry significant amounts of weight. The third piece is that I need to make sure that it is a rear access backpack. And that's because I have a Wandered Essentials camera cube that I'm going to be putting into this backpack. And frankly, the best way to access it, to be able to see all my gear, is to have it be something that I can open up and look at all in front of me. Now I could do that with a front access as well, but the problem with the front access is that if you're putting your backpack, the suspension system, down on wet ground, as soon as you pick that bag back up to put onto your body, you're essentially wearing the ground once you put that backpack back on. So it's better to have rear access to get access to your camera equipment if possible. And as you all know, none of my daily carries are rear access to the main compartment. Many of them are rear access to a tech compartment, but that's not going to do me any good if I need access to my camera equipment. So number 4 is to not have a camera-specific backpack. Now, if you take a look at this pack right here, it certainly is slim enough, it's small enough to be able to qualify as a personal item on an airplane. But the problem with any of these camera-specific backpacks is, if you take a look at them, first of all, let's go into the interior. This does open at the back, so that's a great thing. The interior is set up for camera gear. And yes, while I could try to squish in things that have nothing to do with my camera gear into here, sort of daily essentials, even if that is something that's an option, the problem with a camera-specific backpack is that if you're not carrying camera equipment, it can't be slimmed down. They're chunky, right? They're sort of stiff and chunky, and because they have foam protection for your camera gear, that means that they actually have to sort of maintain their shape a little bit more than I'd want to. So you can't really compress these things down to be a more efficient size when you're not carrying your camera gear. So I'd rather have something that has a little bit more flexibility so that it doesn't have to stick out like a shell on my back. Okay, so what we're going to do here is take a look at 3 types of bags that are all Freeride bags. And what Freeride bags are alpine backpacks that allow you to put your snowboard or your skis onto the bag, and so you can hike to where you need to go, and then you take your skis off your bag, slap them onto your feet, and then ski with this backpack on your back. And the beauty of these Freeride packs here, so let me just tell you that I have 3 of them here. This is the GREGORY TARGHEE. It's a 26-liter bag. We have the DAKINE POACHER, which is a 22-liter bag. And we have, lastly, the DEUTER FREERIDER Pro 30, which is a 30-liter bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you folks these bags not so much as a full review, but really to see how well they work for me in terms of being camera bags as well as being everyday carries when I'm traveling. So I'm going to start with the smallest guy, which is the DAKINE. And you can see here that these things look pretty sporty. So you really wouldn't look at these and think that they are great crossover bags. They're not really going to work for anything but sort of vacation time, casual time. You can see that the front of these things is pretty wide open and simple because what it's for is to put your snowboard or your skis either in an A-frame style or diagonally across the bag. Sometimes these things will have helmet holders, and in fact the DAKINE does have a helmet holder in here, but obviously when I'm using this thing for travel, I'm not going to be traveling with a helmet, so I don't really need that piece. But they do have some interesting things here. So the DAKINE here has a slash pocket, which is felt lined, so I could easily use that for my sunglasses if I want to. And then behind here, let me just unclip these clips here, you have an open area, and it may look like an organizer panel, but unfortunately these little things in here are actually sleeves, so you would actually fit the pieces that make up your shovel, your avalanche shovel, would go into here. And so it would be nice if they somehow were able to seal the bottom so you could actually make these as pockets, but you know, can't ask for everything here. So this would really just be an area to stash whatever you want to put in there if you're traveling. And this actually has really nice zipper holes, as you can see here. And then on the very top of the bag here, well, there's a handle that you can see here, which is nice to be able to grab onto the handle. And it allows you to hang this thing from a hook on the wall. And then you can see here that there's a top quick access pocket up here. And it's not a huge volume, but there is a zippered mesh pocket with a key ring if you want to. And you could easily fit your wallet up here, your phone, etc. So not high volume. Now you'll notice that none of these things allow you access to the main compartment, and so that's where this thing has the rear access. So when you flip this guy over, the DAKINE does indeed have a rear access. Now the one thing that's nice about the DAKINE is it's got really big beefy zippers here. These look like they're YKK number 10s, or maybe they're they're number 10s for sure. And they zip all the way down to the very base, and that's a really important thing here because again, I want access. I want to be able to put my camera cube in here, and the best way you can do that is to have this open up all the way, like so. Okay, so now we're looking at the interior of the bag, the main compartment of the bag. And on this side, you can see here that there's a place for a water reservoir. You know that because it's got the little hook here for it. Now, you could actually put you know, a tablet or something in here. It would have to be a small tablet because there's no way it gets narrow, as you can see here. So there's no chance it's going to be able to fit a full-size tablet. So it's going to be a little tricky in terms of being able to find a place for me to put my my tech in here. So there's no way my 13-inch laptop is going to fit in here. I'm probably going to have to put it somewhere in the front. It's not a padded pocket, so that's a little dangerous as well. So when you take a look at this, here is the Wandered Essentials cube that I was talking about. And I can actually fit it. It may seem pretty small, but I actually can fit a nice kit in here, my travel kit in here, without too much of a problem. But you will see that the problem we have with the DAKINE 22 is it just doesn't have enough depth to easily be able to hold this. And notice too that I have to set the camera cube sort of in the portrait rather than the landscape view. And I could squeeze it in here, but boy, it's just plain too tight. I mean, it's not going to work for me. Not to mention the fact that it has this funny band across the bottom, which is kind of a pain to deal with because it's going to prevent me from being able to get access to my gear with the camera cube in place. So the DAKINE doesn't work just because it's too shallow for me, and I want you all just to know that. It's a great pack, but it's just not a great pack for fitting this particular camera cube. It might work for you if you have a much slimmer camera cube because, you know, there's enough depth. Well, no, there's not even. It's probably about only 4.5 inches of depth, so it's going to be tough. If it doesn't fit my camera equipment, then it's a no-go. It might work as a day pack, but if it doesn't fit my camera equipment, remember, that's what I want. Sorry to the DAKINE POACHER 22. It's not its fault. It's just too small. Up next is the GREGORY TARGHEE 26 liter. Again, pretty casual looking, right? Especially when you have a bright yellow or a bright orange, it's going to stick out. But let's take a look at this guy. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is the beauty of having these Freeride packs is that since they are designed to hold skis or other heavy equipment on the outside, obviously it's really going to be very easy to attach a tripod to these things because a tripod is, in essence, going to be equivalent to a set of skis here. So there's lots of lashing points. You can do it diagonally, across, on the sides. Doesn't really make a difference. I'm not too worried. I know I'm going to be able to fit a tripod. The one thing that's a little bit of a disappointment is none of these 3 bags have water bottle pockets. So that means you're going to have to store your water bottle somewhere else, either hang it with a carabiner off the bag, put it into the top pocket. Maybe you can figure out a way to put a little side pocket on these things, but you know, that is one of the issues with these, is that they don't have water bottle pockets, and that may be end of deal for you. All right, so let's take a look at this GREGORY pack here. So we have the same deal going on here. This is the front pocket that you would store your avalanche gear into, and once again, these aren't pockets, they're actually just sleeves. The difference here is that this front guy is actually padded, okay? So that's a little bit different. It makes it a little bit heavier. Well, actually, interestingly, it's much lighter than the DAKINE. So, you know, it's got some nice padding up there. This actually has a front storage pocket, and actually what this stores is your helmet holder. And again, not going to use a helmet, so this would just be a great place for me to store whatever I need to have hanging out in there during the day. All right, so that's the front compartment here. And again, great zipper pulls for these things. They're designed to be used with for people who have gloves or mittens on, so they're going to work great, just fine for me. And then on the top of the pack here, you can see very similar to what we had with the DAKINE here, which is a top pocket where you can store stuff. In this case, there is a little place for you to hang your keys. I probably wouldn't recommend putting your keys in here also with your sunglasses, but you could put your sunglasses into this area as well. If they're in a case, obviously, then you can have the keys in there. Unlike the DAKINE that I just threw on the floor there, it's not fleece lined, and it doesn't have a separate pocket for your sunglasses, which is a little bit of a disappointment there. Okay? And then, obviously, we haven't gotten into the main compartment because just like the DAKINE, the main compartment is accessed through the back. And so here we go to the back. Now, one of the things that was disappointing here is that this was actually, as you can see, it's missing one of its zipper pulls. So essentially makes that useless. That's a manufacturing defect thing. So, you know, obviously I need to send this back to get them to send me one that's actually going to be fully functional. So, note here, a couple things. This zipper is actually much lighter gauge. It is a YKK zipper, but I would say it's probably about a 6, which worries me a little bit because it's going to be the main zipper that I use, and I'm constantly going in and out of that particular zipper. So that does worry me a wee bit. And also another thing I want to show, let me just pull the Poacher back into here. I want you to notice here that for both of these bags, the shoulder straps are attached above the zippered compartment, or the flap that eventually will open up. Okay. Oh, and in this DAKINE, the zipper goes on the inside of the waist belt. Okay. So again, we have the same thing here. We have a zipper that's below the shoulder straps where they're attached. But in the case of this guy, notice that the zippers go on the outside of the waist belt. So that's slightly different there. I'm not sure if it one way or the other, it makes that much of a difference, other than the fact that when I flop this guy over, if I'm putting it onto grass, then all of a sudden my wet grass, let's say, my waist belt here is going to go into the wet grass. That wouldn't happen with the Poacher, right? Because the Poacher has the waist belt still on the sides here. It's not going to get flopped over into there. So when we take a look here at the GREGORY TARGHEE, we can see that it's got a similar situation to what we saw there with the previous pack with the DAKINE, except that it's a little bit wider, and as a result, and deeper, frankly, and as a result, it very easily will fit my camera cube. Unfortunately, it still has this thing here. Now, if I decide that this is a bag that's going to be a keeper, I'm probably just going to cut this thing out so that it'll better accommodate my camera cube. But this does exist, and it's funny. I'm not sure exactly. I'm sure the folks who use these things as Freeride packs can tell me why this exists here. But it's not as if it's sealed here on this side, so it still would let things fall through. So I'm not fully sure what they're all about. But anyway, it's a headache to have that thing in there. You can see here that this too has a water bladder area. This one's a little bit wider, and it could fit a tablet. It actually can fit a 13-inch laptop. I did try it. It's really kind of a squeeze, and there's no protection here. It's not like this is padded. So that becomes tricky because you have the back of your, or the case of your laptop against your camera equipment. So if you're transporting it, you'd want to make sure that you close this thing up so that you protect both the laptop and your camera equipment at the same time. Okay, so it works better certainly than the DAKINE, but it still doesn't work perfectly for me. So I'm also going to pass on this guy. Not to mention the fact that you can see here the back panel. If you are in the middle of the summer and you're pretty active and hiking, this thing really is going to be tough because you're going to get pretty sweaty back here. This is really designed for, when it's cold outside, you don't really care about the ventilation as much. In fact, what you care much more about is the fact that this sheds snow, and this does a better job of shedding snow than many of the typical packs. Say the packs that I have here, right, that have that mesh associated with it, and maybe even the center channel that's carved out. And this too, just like the previous guy, the DAKINE, this does have a waist belt. It's pretty nicely padded. It's not super heavyweight, but it's certainly going to be much more comfortable than having nothing, especially if you're carrying pretty heavy loads. It's not removable, however, so that's an important thing to consider. This does have a zippered pocket. You could probably fit an iPhone XR at most there. So, it's it's a nice bag. It's just probably not going to work perfectly for me in terms of what I want it to do. So that brings us to this guy, the DEUTER FREERIDER Pro 30. And this guy actually, the color is such that it's pretty mellow. It's still going to be too much of a casual pack, but it has a couple of things going for it that are a little different than the other ones. So first, let's take a look at this compartment here. Okay, so the front compartment now has an internal organization pocket here, and that's where you have your key ring. It also, once again, it has this sleeve that goes in here. Although this sleeve is in such a way that I could actually put a pretty skinny, but I could fit a water bottle into here if I wanted to. And then other than that, you know, it's just sort of a big open pocket here. All right. Pretty small volume too. It's probably about an inch in terms of its depth. It's got YKK zippers here. Decent zipper pulls, but I prefer having the loops than just having tabs of nylon. Just behind this, unfortunately, it does have a zipper cover. Zipper covers drive me crazy, for those of you who know me. And in here, you can see that we do have a helmet carrier that can attach. It's in a nice mesh pocket here. We have an area here where you can put your water bladder in here. It hooks in here nice and cleanly. Okay, so this is sort of a large compartment. It's probably about, you know, a good 3.5, 4 inches worth of depth for that compartment. And then we have across the top here, we have a felt line. It's not felt line, it's fleece lined on one side. So you could put, it's made for your goggles, but you could easily put your sunglasses into this section as well. We do have a light loop here. It's not a great handle. You know, this is more just a quick grab rather than carry it for any long period of time. And then we take a look at what's going on in the back. But I want you to notice a couple things here. So note here that this probably is the best hip belt of them all, and this is a removable hip belt. Notice too that the waist belt is actually inside of the zippers, so that means when I go to open this up and lay it on the snow, that these are going to, you know, flop onto the ground themselves. But most oddly, this is the piece that I think is probably going to make this also a no-go here. You'll notice that we have load lifters at the top, and you have to unclip those every time you go into the back of the bag here, because there's no way you'd be able to open up this flap without first taking those load lifters off. Another thing to note here is that, similar to the Gregory, this has a looks like a number 6 YKK zipper on it, which again worries the heck out of me. It feels like that's way too light a gauge. Now, note here that this bag does not have that piece of fabric across the bottom here, so that I could put my camera cube in here without any issue, and it doesn't block access to any of my gear that I want to get to. Note too here that this is the main compartment that we accessed from the front zipper, so that's kind of convenient that it has access through the back as well as through the top or the front, so it's both a sort of a front and a rear loader here, because here is that same spot that we have for our water bladder. Again, this is good, it just isn't really perfect for me. I kind of need, as always, it feels like I need to have something custom made for me, but I'm going to keep looking around. In fact, I think there is a pack that Osprey makes, one of these Freerider packs, and perhaps that one will work for me. The one great thing about this DEUTER pack that I was hoping would work is, notice that despite the fact this is made for snow sports, it does have the center channel that allows for much more perspiration to get out, right? This chimney effect thing. So I thought this was going to be a much better, you know, for in crossing over to different seasons, this was going to work for me. 3 packs, none of them really work for me. And in fact, it really makes me come back to thinking that it might have to be this mind shift that I sort of messed with. Remember now, this is from another video right there where I removed some of the foam on the side to convert it from what was an full-time camera bag and really sort of big and boxy as a result of being a camera bag. And I've sort of made it into a bag that will better serve me in terms of being one that I can use for both a camera and when I'm not carrying my camera stuff. So this is a situation where, notice that the way this thing opens up, it doesn't, there's no interference with anything to get access to it. It's a really heavy duty number 8 YKK. It opens up, I can fit my camera cube in here, and not to mention the fact that this thing actually does have a specific laptop area. It's in the front, which isn't ideal, but it does have a padded laptop area, and this also does have water bottle pockets. So in the end, maybe I had the right pack all along. Maybe this is the one that's going to work for me. And what's remarkable about this is, despite the fact that it is truly designed to be a camera backpack, Mindshift really put together a great suspension system here. I wouldn't say it's as good as the Deuter suspension systems that you just saw moments ago, but it's pretty dang close. And I frankly think that I could easily hike with this thing for a long time and not get fatigue. All right, so there you go. I know this was a really long video. I hope you guys got something out of it, and I'll let you know when I have the next installment, if I have a look at another one of these Freeride packs, if that thing will measure up to basically what we have here with this Mindshift Backlight 26. All right, don't forget to subscribe right here and take a look at my other videos, and hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe out there.